the Kyrie Irving rumors. And I don't really have a list of teams here because all the rumors are that Kyrie Irving is trying to force his way to the Los Angeles Lakers. He wants to, team up with LeBron again. It's being reported that LeBron is pushing very hard behind the scenes to make this happen. And it's even started to be reported that the Nets and Lakers have actively engaged in a Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook swap. But the big holdup right now is the Lakers don't want to eat Joe Harris's contract. I don't know what the full package would be. I imagine it would be, from what I've heard, something along the lines of Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, a bunch of draft picks, and then you get Kyrie Irving and Joe Harris back. And so at least you provide a little bit of cap relief for the Nets because Westbrook's contract is expiring, and so is Nunn's. This is just such a weird situation here because Kyrie kind of has leverage because he's on an expiring deal, but also the team he wants to go to is one of the teams involved in trades that has the least amount of leverage. The Lakers have almost no flexibility and they don't really have any trade assets that are enticing, but Kyrie's market might be so small that the Lakers might be the best offer they could get. I have heard that there's like the Mavericks and some of these other teams, but how do you feel about Kyrie Irving's situation? Do you think the Lakers deal ends up happening? And if not, what other teams could you see that, could get him?
Yeah, the only way I see a Lakers still happening is if they involve an outside team. I don't think Brooklyn's going to, no offense for Russell, I just don't think they're going to take Russell Westbrook. Because once we already talked about, they have Ben Simmons. You throw in Russell Westbrook, another guy that can't shoot, well, in terms of Westbrook's case. He needs the ball in his hands to be effective on offense. And unlike Ben Simmons, Westbrook's definitely not the defender that Ben is. So I imagine a third team's going to have to be available. Honestly, which I think that's extremely viable. But if we're talking one-on-one trades, like between two teams, I kind of had this thought. I mean, maybe the Heat. I mean, especially if they strike out on Kevin Durant, like, hey, okay, well, next best option. Hey, we can offer you Kyle Lowry, Duncan, and Tyler Hero, and maybe a pick. That's still a pretty good package for Kyrie Irving. That's kind of, like you mentioned, wanting to get out. And it would be an intriguing fit. Like you already said, they needed another scorer, another playmaker, and they have. And if that's like the proposed trade, the one I mentioned, they still have the Max Strus, Gabe Vincent's guys, and obviously Jimmy and Bam, guys that can play defense. And I'm sure they have other guys come with the pipeline as well. Yeah, I think the Heat are a low-key team that could get in there. Otherwise, Lakers, and I don't know what three teams where you get real weird, and I'm not going to sit here and theorize because that's, you get into a real rabbit hole there. But I think a third team's going to have to do it, and even then, like, I'm not really sure because, like you said, the Lakers have like no real assets to give out to people. And Russell Westbrook, as much as I love him, one of those guys where the contract just doesn't match the type of player. And then I think we've seen now is like Russell has to be the alpha, and you have to have some really good role players around him. And at best, your playoff team maybe. So it'd be interesting to see. Which obviously credit Russell Westbrook. He opted in, got his money, made the Lakers make their choice, make it harder. Hey, I'm sorry, Lakers fans, but this is when you. It's not like his contract was a surprise. It was right there in black and white. That's another criticism to the GM if he is the one behind the scenes. Because imagine if you had waited on trading Kyle Kuzma in case when making that trade for Russell Westbrook to the Wizards, like you'd have a little bit better assets. I would say now, right? Like I think that's a little bit. You have more flexibility, like you mentioned. If you still had Kyle Kuzma, it was KCP. Am I forgetting anyone else? I think they included Harrell, right, in that deal.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So like those are a little bit more intriguing pieces, or you can spread those out to other ways. Just find other ways to make it work as opposed to just having Russell Westbrook and the $47 million he's owed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for any other team that wants to try and get Kyrie Irving, there's just such a risk that he's on an expiring contract. So unless he's instantly willing to sign an extension after the season, he could force his way to go play somewhere else, whether it's he wants to reunite with Kevin Durant, because there's been some reports of that happening, but I don't actually believe those reports, because if that was the case, why would Kyrie opt into his contract? Like, why wouldn't he just try to go sign somewhere that KD got traded? That's a whole nother story though. But yeah, Kyrie he brings a lot of risks, whether it's the, potential to re-sign him or all the off the court stuff, or just there's a lot that comes with Kyrie, a lot of baggage. And so I'm not entirely confident that there's a lot of teams that are going to be willing to pay a premium price for him. And that just puts Brooklyn in a really tough spot, because you want to try and maximize the trade you get back, but he has sort of tanked his own trade value, which could help him in his quest to go to LA.